I've been given the go-ahead. So, hello, good afternoon, just everybody to the Institute of Health and Social Care Management's third annual Greener Care Conference. I mean, third year running, this is absolutely incredible. And it's still a topic that isn't spoken about much, isn't really understood much within, especially social care. You know, I'm director of social care here at the Institute, and there's a lot of conversation that's still going on around greener care. We have our own conversations going on within the Institute as part of our Greener Care Special Interest Group. They are open to access for people, especially if you are members. Please do make sure that you get involved in them. They are chaired by Dr. Elaine Mead, absolutely incredible brain around environmental sustainability within the health and social care sector. Now, Elaine can't be with us today, but has done a pre-recorded sort of keynote speak for us, which is going to be great. We're going to hear that in a second. And we have got a day lined up, well, an afternoon lined up of some great speakers around the greener sustainability in health and care. Quick plug here, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but our people plan, which we launched in March of this year, also has a section around greener sustainability in social care. If you haven't read it yet, it is available to download from our website. Members and non-members can access that. And if there's any work in the recommendations that you feel you can be a part of to help achieve, to speed along the process of making care greener, please do get in touch with me. More than happy to work and collaborate with anybody on that work. So, Jade, without further ado, can we hear from Elaine Mead?
And I add my welcome to you all for joining this Greener Care Conference online today. I'm Elaine, and I have the fun and privilege of chairing the Institute's Greener Care Special Interest Group. I've worked in the NHS for most of my career, most recently as Chief Executive in the north of Scotland, and have a passion for improving the quality of health and care that we deliver and the environment that we must sustain. I wanted to open up today's session with some reflections and updates on the important issues that the group have been discussing over the last year. Some good, some not so good, but all of it important. What we will hear today from our presenters will really give us reason for optimism. But to remind us of the urgency of this work, I wanted just to describe a few important documents that have been published since we last met. The first one was the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that came out early last year, actually, and described that since their first report, the evidence has become stronger that our world is warming, and dangerous climate change and extreme events are increasingly impacting on nature and people's lives everywhere. They describe that this can be seen in the depths of the ocean and at the top of the highest mountains, in rural areas as well as cities. And this is important to us in health and care because climate change is causing severe and widespread disruption in nature and in society, affecting the health and well-being of billions of people in millions of different ways. The dreadful floods in Pakistan last year were a tragic example of this impact. Although Pakistan contributes less than 1% of global greenhouse gas emissions, it's one of the places most vulnerable to climate change. On the 25th of August, Pakistan declared a state of emergency because of the flooding, which killed 1,739 people, with 2.1 million people left homeless. Some provinces in Pakistan received over 500% more rainfall in that August than was average. Now, closer to home, we didn't escape. Persistent heat waves in Europe from June to August last year affected many parts, causing evacuations and over 20,000 heat-related deaths, making these heat waves the most deadly weather events of 2022. And just last month, Andalusia in Spain recorded the hottest day ever in April, 39 degrees. Our Our human actions have created this disruption to our weather systems around the world, but at last we're trying to do something about it. The UK is one of the few countries with emission targets in line with long-term temperature goal of the Paris Agreement. But in the Climate Change Committee progress report to Parliament, it said that tangible progress is lagging behind the policy ambition. Emissions rose 4% in 2021 compared with 2020 as the economy began to recover from COVID pandemic. So every little part that we can play in health and care will make a difference to turning this around. And I mean everything. Plastics is one thing that makes me sad. It's everywhere. We can't seem to live without it. Close to 400 million tonnes of plastic waste are generated every year. Shockingly, a figure set to double by 2040. In health and care, we contribute significantly to this, with only a fraction possible to be recycled, and much of it ending up in the environment and the ocean, where it causes a host of problems for humans and wildlife. But hooray! In March, international states agreed to come together to begin negotiations on a legally binding international agreement to end global plastic pollution. The resolution struck at the United Nations Environment Assembly in Nairobi committed nations to having a draft agreement in place by the end of 2024. And there are already inspiring young people taking action. Remember I talked about the Pacific garbage dump? Miles and miles of plastic, 3 times the size of France, swirling around off the coast of America. Well, here's Bojan Stat, a young engineer from the Netherlands who decided to do something about it. And hey, here's what he's actually doing. It's extraordinary. Ocean Cleanup have taken out over 100 tonnes of plastic, recycling it back on land, although of course this is only a tiny proportion of the floating waste out there. But better than clearing up, what about stopping it at source? What are we doing in health and care to stop even ordering some of those plastics? Do we need all of those gloves? Are plastic aprons absolutely necessary, or do we just do it because we've got used to doing it? Now is the time for us to be questioning everything that we do and challenging manufacturers to give us greener materials, which is why I'm going to the UN in Paris next month with Healthcare Without Harm to help lobby the countries as they negotiate a new plastics treaty. It really is everywhere. But another breakthrough was the United Nations Biodiversity Conference in Montreal last December, with a landmark agreement to halt and reverse nature loss, including putting 30% of the planet and 30% of degraded ecosystems under protection by 2030. This global biodiversity framework may mean that the 1 million species currently being pushed towards extinction may be saved. And finally, as a water geek, this one got me the most excited. The High Seas Treaty secured a historic agreement across nations to protect the world's oceans following 10 long years of negotiation. It aims to help place 30% of seas into protected areas by 2030 to safeguard and recuperate marine life. And why should we care about that? Well, you know I love plankton, and those phytoplankton you may have heard me talk about before are precious microscopic plants, playing a huge role in the marine food web. Like plants on land, Phytoplankton performs photosynthesis to convert the sun's ray into energy, and they take in carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. If you take 2 breaths, the oxygen for one of them came from these plankton. So at last, it seems the governments are listening to the scientists, and we're starting to see some action. But we still need to do everything that we can to support that effort. We need to start somewhere, anywhere. And adding sustainability to your improvement work is a great place to start. Today, you'll hear about how to bring elements of environmental and social sustainability into your work in a really practical way, and hear examples of how people are already doing this right across health and care. I would love to see these elements included in every project so that we can start to measure just what impact we're having. There have been some amazing work examples shared with the special interest group over the year, many that will inspire you as they're showcased here today. If you're doing great work, we'd like to hear from you. We are always learning from each other. Not long ago, we all thought that recycling was the answer, and that was hard enough. But now we need to think differently. Recycling comes much lower on the list. Refusing is a great way to exert your power. So I want to leave you with a great example of frontline power at its best. Many of you will have heard our anaesthetic colleagues talking about the shocking impact of the anaesthetic gas desflurane and that impact it was having on the environment. As more and more people began to talk about this and recognise that there were alternatives available, the momentum gathered. Common sense finally prevailed and the governments listened. It is fantastic news that earlier this year, this gas was removed from healthcare in Scotland and in England, and the same thing is happening in Wales. It makes me feel like what we're talking about and what we're doing in our own small way really can have an impact. So I encourage you today to steal ideas, share them with others, do your bit, whether it's at work or at home. Do come and join us at the special interest group where we keep talking and learning together. You're all more than welcome, whatever your experience, wherever you come from, whatever you're interested in. Let's stand together as a health and care sector that can honestly say it's doing its bit for the environment. Our planet needs us. Our children deserve it. So act now. And thank you. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
Look at that, on mute. Been doing this for three-ish years, and then I go and commit a faux pas in our 3rd annual Greener Care Conference. If anything, I'm sort of sobered and inspired by that presentation. And I know I said we didn't have Elaine with us, and not to put you on the spot, Elaine, but I have spied your name in our participant list. Are you around to say hello? Taking that as a no, she's probably just listening and see how things go. I think as we go on today, if you have got any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat. It'll be great to hear any questions that you have for any of our speakers going on throughout the day, or if you've got examples of stuff that you're doing that you think actually we need to know about, please let us know here today. It's not just saved for the special interest group which runs. We take feedback at all angles, and as Elaine's just said, this isn't just about us now, it's about our children, it's about the future generations, and it's about what we can do as a health and social care sector to really change things for the better. And sometimes it is just those small changes that make the biggest impacts. Following on from that, has anyone got any questions or anything that they would like to share before we bring on our first speaker of the day? Feel free to pop your hand up. I've got Jade. She's eagle-eyed, having a look out to make sure she catches anyone who's got any sort of feedback. Okay, I'm going to bring, whilst everyone's having a think, our first speaker of the day, Hannah Montgomery.
Hello.
Hi, Hannah. How are you?
I'm all good. How are you guys?
Oh, very good, very good. Again, third annual Green Tech Conference. Can you believe it, Hannah?
Absolutely. It shows that you can see now the cogs of everything, whether it be in health and social care or anywhere, even investment that people are making into companies now have all got a sustainability led view. I was on a conference yesterday, Deborah Mead was on it, talking about how people are making investments, but the investors are putting out there the sustainable credentials that have to be hit before that they will invest as well. So
yeah, and it's trying to make those conscious decisions now, isn't it? So, prime example, I did Care Sector's Got Talent recently, which was absolutely fab. The theme was Sparkle for Social Care. So I glittered my beard up, and I'm a crafter. I love glitter. There was never a Christmas where I didn't have copious amounts of glitter. And then I learned about microplastics, and I was like, oh heck. Oh heck, my favorite time of the year is destroying the planet. So when I did Sparkle for Social, I wonder whether I've still got it here. Not that I'm promoting stuff, like how they do. Beer dazzled, biodegradable glitter. Now I know it's probably still not the best solution out there, because biodegradable doesn't mean it instantly disappears, but it's about making those tiny little decisions on our everyday life as well, which help breed that sort of consciousness moving forward.
I didn't realise some toothpaste to get it whitened had little molecules of plastic in that then you're spitting out once you've brushed your teeth, and then that's going into and you're like, whoa, I didn't even know I was doing that. So it's just educating yourself on everything that you're putting into your body, everything you're bringing into your house, and just having a really good read and trying to understand.
Yeah, and sunscreen, massive one. Sunscreen, the chemicals that are in sunscreen that are poisoning the oceans, destroying the coral reefs. There's so much that when you think it can become overwhelming. So I think hopefully today we're going to try and break it down a little bit so you don't feel overwhelmed. It doesn't feel too much. Just going on from Elaine's keynote opening there, I think if anyone's listening and they picked up on the whole PPE angle, do we need gloves? Do we need the aprons? I think post-pandemic, everyone's gone to the extreme with protecting ourselves. Gloves at all times, aprons at all times. I go to the gym, and the amount of people I see covered in aprons and gloves still whilst going to the gym. And actually, it can be counterintuitive because it can increase the cross of spread of infection if we're not changing our PPE between uses. And it is, increasing the amount of stuff that we're using and putting out there. So it's not a case of saying, oh, let's just get rid of, IPC and let's all go back to using bare hands all the times. But it's about making those wise decisions and those conscious decisions. Before you get going on your slot for us, have you got anything that you want to pick up on from Elaine's opening?
I just think all the little tidbits, like the 39 degrees in April in Spain last year. I'm a ginger, and that fills me with fear, a lot of fear. And you just don't realize, and it's all about the compound effect, isn't it? And not to be overwhelmed. That lad that's doing the ocean cleanup, wow, you've got to be that change that you want to see, haven't you? And it just shows that people can do let's eradicate the use of that gas. Enough people, it's like the ant mentality, isn't it? Actually, we're being bullied by these people. Actually, all together, we are much mightier and bigger, and we can do something if we believe in it and want it bad enough.
100%. And, I'm really excited that you're here today because you're one of these people. You're one of these people making those small changes in a really vast ocean of plastic and rubbish.